Okay, folks, I got a backlog of movies. This is just one of the multiple movies that I need to get down on tape for you to watch on YouTube. We are going to be directing a Netflix production. I was going to say straight to Netflix, but I feel like that's kind of negative. Just like straight to VHS was a negative connotation. Is straight to Netflix a thing? The theater industry is dying. Streaming is here. And so all these movies just go straight onto your television. Noonas, or is it Noonas? I think it's Noonas. Noonas, directed by Stephen Chbosky. It came out on Mother's Day 2025 on Netflix, an hour and 54-minute runtime. And it was the number one movie on Netflix that week. I did not look up box office totals because obviously Netflix, right? And they guard all the information. So
would you say they bogart it?
They just don't like I don't know. It's weird. Okay. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. So Vince Vaughn plays a real life gentleman by the name of Joe Scaravella, an Italian gentleman who grew up in Brooklyn. And there's some big differences that I found right off the bat. So this is an adaptation of this real life guy, Joe, and his Italian restaurant that he founded in 2007 in honor of his late mother. And that restaurant is called Enoteca Maria, and it is on Staten Island. So this is a big difference between the movie and the real life story.
No, that was the real name of the
That's the real life thing, but this is how the movie differs. Oh. So in the movie, the Vince Vaughn character, he's working for the Manhattan Transit Authority, or the MTA, the Metropolitan Transit Authority, and he takes his inheritance from his mother's death, and he is still living in Brooklyn, plus working at the Metropolitan Transit Authority and taking a ferry to found this restaurant, Enoteca Maria, when in real life, his mother, grandparents, father, and sister all died back to back to back, and in a state of grief, he would leave his Brooklyn and move to Staten Island and found this restaurant in 2007. This restaurant, it takes a month to even get a reservation to eat there, and the premise of this restaurant is he has grandmas from all over the world, and for real, go there and cook their native cuisine, and it's apparently very popular and very good. He published a book featuring his grandmother's as well as other grandmas' recipes throughout the world. That cookbook is called Noonas House. Available on Simon and Schuster. So
available on Amazon, probably.
And then Linda Cardinelli, who was from the TV show Freaks and Geeks, she plays a love interest. Susan Sarandon's in this movie.
Yeah.
There's things that I loved about this movie. There's heartfelt moments.
Lots of good moments.
I felt like this movie was a classic. But then there's other stuff that they were total fabrications for Hollywood agendas, which I thought were not my favorite.
We don't like that.
And I want to let you kind of talk about some of that stuff so they can roast you and not me.
What? Wow, unreal.
So, one of the not real stories. Go.
Okay. So, one of the Noonas who he hired, she said that she was a nun prior to this and that she left the nunnery to help do the cooking and that she felt God was calling her to do that. But then the night before they're going to have their big opening, they meet up in the Susan Sarandon characters. She's a hairdresser, and they meet up in her salon. Mm-hmm. I was going to say hairdresser shop.
Beauty parlor.
Yeah. And so she does their hair and their nails, or I guess their nails, and she beautifies them so they can have this experience together the night before the big opening. And then they're sharing all their secrets about their lives. And this lady who was supposedly just previously a nun confesses that she was like in love with another woman, and that's also part of the reason why she decided to become a cook and not be a nun anymore.
It didn't say that she got kicked out. It said that she just couldn't be a part of an organization that didn't accept her for who she was.
It just didn't.
It was an agenda. Yeah. It was a total fabrication. That was not a real part of the story, but I guess that's the modern Hollywood narrative.
Right. Maybe they felt like they had to include something, a little more spicy to make the video more exciting, but it wasn't
it was
true
kind
to
of
the real story.
It was shoehorned in there. It's like, let's put our our gay agenda in this movie about Italian
Cooking.
grandmothers and cooking. I don't know. It
It
just kind of felt...
It seemed a little odd
It
because it
shoehorned
was
it.
like she was supposedly this Catholic nun, and up till that point she was like always praying for like God to provide and stuff like that. And then it just kind of came like out of left field that she was like, "Hey,
I'm a
I was like
lesbian."
in love with a woman or whatever." And then everyone just kind of was like, "Okay, cool," and just kind of like moved on. It just felt like very just odd because it wasn't like true to the original story, and it just, I don't know, it just, yeah.
And the
felt
other
like a weird add-on, I guess, that was not related to anything.
The other thing that was like super awkward and like really unnecessary was the Susan Sarandon character has these big, massive fake breasts, and like all the other grandmas are like talking about it,
Kind of
and
like put off by
and
it.
then she's like showing them off, and like
But then
it's
she says,
super
like,
awkward.
then she says, like, they're not real because she had to have a double mastectomy.
Yeah.
And then, like, after that, the other ladies are, like, all sad that they give her a hard time, and they're all, like, bonded and stuff. I mean, I guess it kind of made sense to the plot because, like, they all sort of had reasons why
They didn't like that character.
disliked each other. Like,
Oh, yeah,
the
they
other
all didn't
two
like each
main ladies, they were from, like, different parts of Italy.
Yeah.
And the
one was from Sicily and the other one was from Bologna.
Yeah.
And there was
like a lot of
headbutting.
friction between the two characters because they just like
They were salty old grandmas.
Those two towns like don't get along or whatnot. So then one lady was like, "My area is better than yours," and then it was just a lot of bickering. So, anyways, and then the other part that was not the best was, well, I don't want to give away spoilers, but it
That's
just the
fine.
ending. The ending just felt kind of rushed. Like it did have a good conclusion, but like the space in between, like
I think
it
that
just
it was
felt
like
kind of
the whole
thrown
movie
together.
is like the Vince Vaughn guy blowing all of his money. His best friend sells his beloved 1959 Plymouth Fury that was like a family heirloom to help him financially. It looks like the restaurant's going to fail and just go out of business. And then all of a sudden they spend the whole 2 hours focusing on this restaurant. Maybe it's going to fail. Maybe there's no business. The local community leaders weren't accepting it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they don't focus on the fact that it became this huge success and was like a big deal with like months long wait periods to
It was like 1 minute.
They kind of glossed over that at the very end. They're like, "Oh, we're about ready to go out of business. Oh, by the way," all of a sudden he meets with this famous food critic and kind of like gets bold and shows up unannounced at this guy's office and like gives him food without his permission. And the guy's like, "Get out, I'm going to call security."
Cold bags that he was keeping the food cold. And then like it does show that the reviewer did try it afterwards and he enjoyed it, and then he wrote a good review, but it's like the
restaurant was already it seemed like the restaurant was already gone by that point.
Yeah, it makes it seem like, okay, after this one good review, like everything turned around, but the part where it turned around, like it didn't really show it as much, like didn't really show them getting more business and stuff. It just kind of jumped to, okay, now we're successful.
I would have loved to have seen like a transitionary period where all of a sudden they did become successful. But overall, I thought the movie was enjoyable. Rotten Tomato critic average 82%. I think I'm more along the lines of the audience score. 500 plus audience members submitting their reviews to Rotten Tomato, and the average is 72%. And IMDb is 6.8 out of 10. And I think overall, I did enjoy most of it, but I think that I'm 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I think I'm 3.5 out of 5. I got to put that half in there because there were a lot of like tearjerker
there were some good moments.
And there were like some plot twists. Like he meets up with his, he bumps into like his high school kind of sweetheart, and he had like blown it at the prom with her, but then he sees that she's wearing her wedding ring, so he's like, oh, like she must already be taken.
I don't know if that plot line is real or not. There wasn't a lot about that.
It was still cute. You know me, I'm a sucker for romantic movies, and at the beginning when it was like, okay, it's a movie about these, Italian Noonas and their cooking, I was like, okay, that could be good, but I don't know if there's any romance in this video. And then, like, it ended up that there was. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. It made it more exciting.
Thanks for watching, folks.
3.5. Give it a whirl.
All right.
Noonas.
Maybe I'll be in alignment. Can I change my review to match yours? Because I was teetering between 3 and 3.5.
No, I'm just kidding. Yes, you can.
I would say it's worth a watch. If you have an ultra-conservative, real-life Catholic Nona yourself, she's going to be turned off by the whole lesbian subplot. And
it was barely a
fixation on Susan Sarandon's massive knockers. But besides that...
That was just her character. It was part of her essence of wanting to be beautiful and kind of show off and all that stuff.
Fair enough.
I was going to say our 9-year-old son is very interested in Italy
and
Italian cooking in particular, and he really enjoyed this movie. So
why didn't we feature him in this review? It's too late. It's already done. Until next time.
He's playing.
What was up with the weird strokings of the Yoda earlier in the review? We got a baby Yoda here.
When Yoda heard that people had died, felt sad.
All right. This is weird. We'll see you next time.